4-year-old Lam Sum Yut tragically passed away yesterday morning at Queen Mary Hospital's Pediatric Intensive Care Unit. She had suffered cardiac arrest following a wound stitching procedure at Ruttanji Hospital last May. The case has been referred to the coroner, while a nurse and patient assistant have been charged with child abuse. Concerns have been raised regarding potential adjustments to the charges given the fatality. The Department of Justice has stated that commenting on the case is inappropriate while it remains under legal proceedings. Despite a growing trend of Hong Kong residents renting and buying property in the Greater Bay Area, disputes remain a concern. The Consumer Council received 758 related complaints in the past 3 years, with a decrease to 192 in the last year, a 26% and 37% drop compared to the previous 2 years respectively. Common complaints include delayed handover, missing agents after receiving payments, misleading sales information, and unfinished construction. To address these concerns, the Consumer Council launched a website providing information on property rental and purchase in Hong Kong, Macau, and 9 mainland cities. The IELTS announced a ban on non-Hong Kong residents taking the paper-based test in Hong Kong. Effective Monday, the British Council, the test organizer, cited a link between non-resident participation and fraudulent test day activity, stating the new measure enhances exam security and protects candidates from fraud. Gaoda Map, Alibaba's ride-hailing app, launched in Hong Kong last year offering only taxi services. However, it recently added private car options, directly competing with Uber. Gaoda uses taxi companies and service providers to manage the process, with these providers responsible for vetting vehicles, ensuring they possess the necessary licenses, driver recruitment, and overall management. A recent test revealed that private cars booked through Gaoda were unlicensed. With the government planning to regulate ride-hailing platforms this year, concerns have been raised about Gaoda's operational model potentially enabling them to circumvent future regulations. Legislators are urging the government to clearly define platform responsibility and the roles of all stakeholders in the legislative process. Hong Kong currently has 3 ride-hailing platforms offering private car services. Uber, operating for over a decade, Tata, launched last year, and the newest entrant, AutoNavi. A recent comparison found AutoNavi to be the cheapest, offering fares 10 to 30% lower than Uber, the most expensive option. However, AutoNavi's app doesn't include tunnel tolls in its upfront fare estimate. Drivers manually add this cost after the ride, requiring passengers to pay extra. Concerns have been raised about potential driver manipulation of this system. The government's proposed legislation to regulate ride-hailing platforms, expected this year, is essential to protect the taxi industry and ensure a fair market. The emergence of new platforms like Tata and Gaoda Map during the regulatory gap highlights the need for swift action to prevent further market distortion by unregulated players. While the significant potential of the ride-hailing market is acknowledged, delaying comprehensive regulation only encourages more entrants, complicating future implementation and potentially jeopardizing the interests of established taxi operators. Therefore, establishing a clear regulatory framework, even in a preliminary form, is crucial to guide market behavior and protect the interests of all stakeholders. The Legislative Council is currently deliberating the court's remote hearings bill, which proposes restricting defendants' right to attend criminal appeals. Concerns were raised yesterday by several legislators regarding this impact on defendants' rights. While the judiciary proposed amendments, the Undersecretary for Justice, Ren Hao-chun, avoided directly addressing the amendment's relevance to defendants' attendance rights, stating that the court could decide to handle appeal applications in person, remotely, or in writing. He also indicated that amending Section 83U of the Criminal Procedure Code, as the bill suggests, might not be necessary. Police are investigating after a 70-year-old couple was found unconscious in their Fanling home yesterday, apparently from an apparent suicide attempt involving sleeping pills. The wife called emergency services midday. The case is currently classified as attempted suicide. On November 18, 2019, police surrounded the Polytechnic University. 2 students were arrested in Yau Ma Tei for rioting and subsequently convicted, receiving sentences of 50 and 56 months respectively. While one student's appeal was upheld due to inconsistencies between police testimony and video evidence, the other student's conviction and sentence were maintained. The appeal of Lin Qianqing, a fourth-year City University student convicted of rioting, was dismissed by the Court of Appeal, which upheld the lower court's conviction. In the ongoing trial of 8 individuals accused of plotting 3 bombings in early 2020 under the Terrorism Prevention Ordinance, a police officer testified that CCTV cameras in the suspect's apartment were covered with stickers to prevent the live streaming of a police raid, which posed a threat to officers' safety and risked the destruction of evidence or attacks on police personnel. The defense alleges this was a deliberate attempt to plant evidence or cover up misconduct, a claim the officer denied. The government's operating account balance, a key component of its fiscal reserves, has significantly decreased over the past decade, falling from over 50% of reserves 10 years ago to 18.7% in 2023-24. This reflects a decline in recurring revenue, necessitating reliance on non-recurring sources, such as debt issuance, to fund public expenditure, while overall reserves remain substantial, with a significant portion allocated to strategic funds like the Future Fund and Land Fund. The decreasing reliance on recurring revenue raises concerns about the long-term sustainability of public finances. The government's prudent fiscal reserves, including the Future Fund established in 2016, have seen significant returns channeled back into public coffers. By March 2023, 117 billion Hong Kong dollars had been returned, with 100 billion Hong Kong dollars subsequently allocated to general revenue. This demonstrates effective resource management and underscores the government's commitment to fiscal responsibility, emphasizing the importance of preserving the fund's principle. Government write-offs totaling $2.1 billion over the past 5 fiscal years reflect outstanding debt owed by various individuals, Further concern arises from the projected increase in non-performing loans under the 100% guaranteed loan scheme to $19.4 billion, 13.5% bad debt rate, by the end of 2024, with total non-performing loans across all guarantee schemes, including 80% and 90% guaranteed products, reaching $24.8 billion by the end of last year. With the new budget due at the end of the month, public welfare and civil servant salaries are under scrutiny. Executive Council member and Legislative Council member representing the insurance sector, Chan Kin-por, proposed adjustments to the $2 public transport fare concession, citing widespread abuse and suggesting the government analyze Octopus card data to consider limiting monthly usage, setting per-trip subsidies, or imposing annual caps. Legislative Council member representing the Election Committee constituency, Zhe Wai-chun, urged officials to lead by example with salary cuts before reducing welfare benefits, arguing that failing to do so would create a perception of fat cats and lean citizens, harming public morale. Hong Kong's influenza season, which began early last month, is intensifying. According to Center for Health Protection Director Dr. Lo Yuk Kai, he expects a surge in transmission following schools reopening next week, with the season potentially lasting until March or April. While the recent death of a 48-year-old Taiwanese entertainer highlights the risk of influenza in younger adults, the government assures that sufficient vaccine supplies, at least 140,000 doses, remain available for private doctors. Although influenza vaccination rates among Hong Kong adults aged 18 to 49 are estimated at only 10 to 15%, Dr. Lo refrained from commenting on whether this is satisfactory. A middle-aged woman and her family of 4 went hiking in Tai Po's Eight Immortals Mountain the day before yesterday, when one member became fatigued and descended. The woman and her nephew continued, becoming lost and separated in the evening. Rescue personnel located them near Bamboo Pit Stream around 1 a.m. yesterday. They were airlifted to the hospital. The boy suffering from hypothermia. Hiking experts advise hikers to research routes, check weather conditions, and bring sufficient clothing. If anyone becomes fatigued, the entire group should return together. A police officer, convicted of 2 counts of indecent assault on a child under 16 and 2 counts of inciting a child under 16 to commit serious indecency, is appealing his 48-month prison sentence. The appeal focuses on whether the prosecution sufficiently proved the officer's intent to derive sexual gratification from masturbating in front of his son, and argues the trial court misdirected the jury by not considering the possibility that the officer's actions were intended to teach his son about itching. The appeals court is currently considering the appeal and will issue a judgment within 6 months. Hong Kong residents shopping in mainland China now have multiple payment options. Unlike before when a mainland bank account was required for local payment apps. However, mainland bank accounts remain necessary for mortgages, utilities, and rent payments if purchasing or renting property there. Witness account opening services, allowing Hong Kong banks to open mainland accounts, then link to payment apps, offer greater convenience. While only a few banks previously offered this, Standard Chartered and HSBC joined last month. New entrants, however, may not yet offer physical debit cards, potentially requiring a separate bank for cash withdrawals. Guangdong Province held a high-quality development conference yesterday, where Party Secretary Huang Kunming praised DeepSeek, a rapidly rising AI company, for its bold challenge to American AI giants, urging Guangdong businesses to strive for leadership. Huawei Chairman Liang Hua also spoke, reporting 2024 operating results met expectations and highlighting future plans to leverage AI across various sectors. The U.S. imposed a 10% tariff on goods from China, including Hong Kong, starting Tuesday, eliminating exemptions for small packages and requiring customs declarations for all mailed items. While the U.S. Postal Service briefly suspended accepting packages from mainland China and Hong Kong, it quickly resumed service. Legislator Patrick Wong, representing the import-export sector, downplayed the impact, citing manufacturers' diversification beyond mainland China. However, Lam Sin Mo, chairman of the Hong Kong Shippers Council, urged caution, noting the potential for further U.S. administrative actions to restrict mainland imports. The U.S. Postal Service temporarily suspended acceptance of packages from mainland China and Hong Kong, effective immediately, until further notice. A reporter's inquiry at the Central Post Office confirmed the suspension, effective 10 a.m. yesterday, advising customers to use alternative shipping methods such as private couriers. Tracking information for already submitted packages is available online. However, the fate of those packages remains unclear. The USPS briefly suspended, then resumed, accepting packages from mainland China and Hong Kong, potentially causing temporary delays for Chinese e-commerce platforms like Temu and Shein. The USPS cited collaboration with CBP to streamline Chinese customs duties, aiming to minimize disruption to package delivery. China urged the U.S. to stop politicizing and weaponizing trade issues. Following China's announcement of retaliatory tariffs against the U.S., President Trump stated he's in no rush to speak with President Xi. Reports suggest China is considering investigations into Apple and Intel, following its probe into Google.